Hello friends, as you can see in tutorial life we are going to discuss what is OOP, Object Oriented Programming today. So what is OOP? So if I answer in a single line, Object Oriented Programming is a programming technique. It's not a programming language or anything else. If you want to understand so how OOP can understand, this tutorial, like this video tutorial, will help you to understand the thing. So before jumping to the object oriented programming, what is OOP on this question, I would like to introduce you with some other programming language techniques that were introduced before this. So once the computer has been invented, and the first programming language that has been also introduced with us, that was the machine language programming. Machine language programming is basically written in binary language or in bits. It's the combination of 10 10 10. Okay, so what's the problem with machine language programming? So the next one, programming language, assembly language programming, has come into the existence. So if you want to understand so the demerits of the machine language programming or the drawbacks of the machine language programming, we should take an example. Let's take an example of restaurant management system. In today's era, if we go to the client and he asks me that yes, we need a restaurant management system or a school management system, is it possible to write the whole code of restaurant management system or school management system in bits 1010 combination? I think it's not possible. You can write a small piece of code in 1010, but that is also not going to get understood by us or as well as the end users. So that is the main demerit of machine language programming. Apart from this, machine language programming is specific to the machine, not to all the machines that on which that particular application is going to be used. So that is another issue. So when we are going to develop any kind of application in these days, like restaurant management system, school management system, that will be used over the cloud, that will be used by different machines. So machine language programming is not going to help us to develop such kind of program. Now, then the assembly language programming comes into the existence, which is the first high level language. Once I say high level language, why I have said this is the first high level language? Because in this programming language we have used the English letters, English words that can be understood by human being, and then converted into the machine language by some compiler, by some interpreter, that will be understood by machine, and once the output will return back to us, that is again in the English word that is understood by us. So we are giving the command to the computer in English language. That's why this particular programming language is something nearer to us rather than the machine. So this particular language is the first high level language. But there is definitely some problem with assembly language programming also, because in assembly language programming what we can see, this is written. Let's take an example, add a comma b. We can add, the instruction is saying that we have to add a into b, but this is also something very tough to develop restaurant management system or something like that, like school management system. Now after that, assembly language programming language, the structured or the procedural programming language comes into the existence. So the best example of this particular programming language is C, and this is popular till now. So the question arises, why, if we have the programming language like C that is popular till now, the object oriented programming technique comes into the existence, and most of the programming language like C++, Java, .NET, PHP, AngularJS, any of the programming language, if you take an example of any of the programming language, that is based on the object oriented programming technique, not on the procedural programming language. There is only one example of procedural programming language we have, it's C. I'm not going to say that the 100% programming language that is developed today based on the object-oriented programming technique. But yes, we have majority of programming language developed on the technique object-oriented programming. Now, why we have not developed any other language after this C, but we are focusing on the object-oriented technique? Because in procedural programming language, we mainly emphasize over the functions, variables, not over the data. If we go to the client, any of the business person who wants any application in today's era, they will mainly focus on the data. They need some meaningful information from the data. So if we take an example of restaurant management system, okay, so what will happen once we go to meet to the restaurant owner? He will say us that we have n number of employees working in our restaurant, we have n number of chairs and tables, we can serve n number of people in our restaurant at particular time, we have n numbers of cook, we can prepare n number of dishes, this kind of thing. But he is not going to say that you can develop the program in C language, you can develop the program in C++ or .NET or Java. You should write such kind of function like do booking, you can do cancellation. He mainly emphasizes on the data, not on the functions. And what we have done in the procedural programming language, we mainly emphasize on the functions, on the procedure. We write the functions and procedure in some structured way. That's why the name is structured programming language. So suppose we are writing a function to do the booking or to do the cancellation. The particular function goes on, and it becomes 1,000 lines of codes in that particular function. Whether that is manageable? I don't think so. I believe you don't think so that we are able to manage 10,000 lines of code in a single function. We can't debug the code. If we are executing 10,000 lines of code, the first 1,000 line we can remember, oh, that's the output from that particular function, those 1,000 of lines. But once we are starting with the next 1,000 lines of code, we forgot what happened with the first 1,000 lines of code. And if we divide that particular function in 5 more functions with 2,000 lines of code, again we have the same problem. We are not able to manage the code. So that is one big reason to move on from the structured or procedural programming language. Next, as I said, we do not emphasize on the data. We emphasize on the functions or procedures. Suppose, as I said, we have 5 different functions with 2,000 lines of code, but we need a variable that should be used by 2 different functions. What we need to do in structured programming or in C language programming, we should use the global variables. Now we have declared a global variable that will be used by 2 functions, but there are 3 more functions that have no use with that particular variable. So what will happen? There is a memory may be used by that particular global variable in those functions, and that is an overhead on the program. Again, there is some other issue with that particular global variable. By mistake, if any of the 3 functions that has no use with that particular global variable has used that variable and it has manipulated the value of that particular global variable, what will happen? The other 2 functions that are using that particular variable will use the new one value. That will be the issue. Now, once I come to the object-oriented programming language, what will happen? Why the name is object-oriented programming language? Object-oriented programming means the programming technique that will emphasize on the object. And what is object? Object is the real world entity. Now we will try to understand how object-oriented programming mainly focus on the object or on the real entities. As I said, we have taken an example of restaurant management system. So once we meet with the restaurant owner in the different SDLC cycle, if you have gone through my different SDLC cycle tutorials, you have seen that the first phase of any of the software development life cycle or system development life cycle is the requirement gathering. So once we go to the restaurant owner, once we meet with him, what he will say us, he will say, as we discussed just 2 minutes before, that he will say us that we have n number of chairs, we have n number of employees, we have n number of managers, we have n number of cooks, we have such kind of facility in our restaurant. So let's write down these things. We have n number of people, we have n number of managers, we have n number of tables and chairs. We can serve n number of peoples in our restaurant. We have n number of cook. We have we can do booking. We can do cancellation. These things he will say. He will he will not going to say you. So which programming language should we use? What are the functions? But in object-oriented programming, what we have discussed, these people, manager, tables, cook, booking, cancellation, we use same kind of thing. Like we can create an object, we can create a variable with the name of people that will say that it says that we have n number of employees in our restaurant. Let's omit this and write employees because we have already written the people, number of people that the restaurant can serve. We have n number of employees. We can create an employee type of object in our program that will say this: the particular object is representing the employees of that particular restaurant. If we say manager, we have created an object with manager word. So what this will indicate? This will indicate how many managers, or it will indicate the manager of that particular restaurant. Now we move on to the function booking and the cancellation. Do booking, do cancellation. We have two more functions. What if we name these functions to the restaurant owner? What he will understand with do booking? Oh, that particular function or that particular functionality will do the booking kind of things, booking kind of implementation. Do cancellation, it will cancel the booking of that particular booking if some customer or some user has cancelled his booking. So what we see, we are focusing on the objects, on the real world entities. These all are the real world entities. Booking is the real world. Yes, in real world also restaurant is doing the booking kind of thing. He is doing the cancellation kind of thing. These are employees, manager, table, people, cook. These all exist in the real world. So what we have discussed with the business person, what we have discussed with the restaurant owner, we are using those keywords only in our program. That's why the programming language technique is named as object-oriented programming. So we are all clear why once we have the machine language programming, assembly language programming, structure of programming, procedural programming language, but we are now focusing on the object-oriented programming technique. We have already one more thing. So you are seeing a diagram. I have already created for you. There are six. These are the six pillars. These are the six pillars or six major concepts of groups that we are going to discuss in our next programming language. For the time being, I am just going to name for you object, class, abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism. These six terminologies that I have written on the board are the six major pillars of the object-oriented programming that we are going to discuss in our next two sessions. Probably in the next session I am going to discuss object, class, and abstraction. After that we are going to discuss encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism. And after that we will jump into the programming. So stay tuned with tutorial live for these kind of sessions. If you are liking our our session, please do subscribe and click on the bell icon for your notification. Till then.